American sport, where shade tree mechanics become legendary crew chiefs and tough as nails working stiffs become superstar drivers. Sprint car racing is a grassroots motorsport where everyone loves to go slinging dirt. But sprint car racing is also a thrill-packed, hard-rocking rodeo where the ability to wrangle an 800-horsepower bucking Bronco around an oval of good old-fashioned mud can bring a driver to and over the razor edge of disaster. Slinging dirt at full throttle is the way to the top in sprint car racing. For the next 40 minutes, I hope you'll join me, Dave Reef, in looking at some of the most incredible feats of daring driving and disaster ever recorded on the dirt tracks of America. So come on, let's go slinging some dirt. The most famous band of dirt-slinging desperados are the winged warriors of the Pennzoil world of Outlaws. And among this high-powered posse are legends like Steve Kinzer, the king of the Outlaws. His cousin Mark, a multiple champion on the Outlaws trail. The stern-faced yet speedy, slamming Sammy Swindell. And his brother, the court jester of dirt, Jeff Swindell. Andy Hillenberg, whose fast driving contrasts with his oaky drawl. And his cousin, the youthful but experienced Lance Blevins. From the dirt battlegrounds of Pennsylvania comes hard charger Stevie Smith, while Danny the Dude Laskoski cut his competitive teeth at the fabled Knoxville Raceway. Nobody's braver or bolder in traffic than Jack the Wild Child Howdenchild, unless it's Hollywood, Johnny Herrera. And one of the younger guns in the Outlaw gang is the Dakota Kid, Donnie Schatz. Now, in order to properly sling some dirt, you have to get up to speed. But sometimes the start of the race is the most difficult time for a driver. As they mash the throttle coming to the green flag, it turns into frantic fisticuffs as they tussle over the turn 4 turf. Here, number 15, Donnie Schatz suffers from a pinch move by number 3, Darren Pittman at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Another Las Vegas start tangle involving, among others, Rick Zeal, Terry McCarl, Peter Murphy, Shauna Wilski, and Andy Hillenberg. And it all starts in the front row. Watch the inside pole sitter. That is the 18 machine of Rick Zeal, leaving a roadblock with nowhere to go for everybody else on the inside. Again, you see the 18 car begin to lose control. That leaves Terry McCarl in the 24 with nowhere to go. Look at the height gotten by the 0 car. That's Peter Murphy. Behind him, a whole gaggle of sprint cars trying to get by, and unfortunately, no place to go. Another angle, this time from turn 1. Watch the 18 car. That's Zeal out of New Mexico. See in the back, the black number 2, that's Andy Hillenberg out of Oklahoma. You want to talk about pressure? Heat racing is where it's at. You try as best you can to get through the accident, and sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't if you're Andy Hillenberg. As Terry McCarl surveyed the damage, I had a chance to catch up with Broken Arrow, Oklahoma's Andy Hillenberg. What happened from your perspective? You didn't even make the first corner.
I don't know. It looked like a 24 car got into somebody and turned them around, and everybody piled up. So I really couldn't see. The dust was pretty bad, but I don't know. Trying to get this thing to the pit so we can get it fixed right now.
We also had a chance to catch up with Rick Zeal.
I broke loose, and I might have had a little help. It's hard to tell the way this racetrack is. It's real slick tonight. Hopefully there's no frame damage. We'll get it in the pits and find out.
Did Rick Zeal have any help? You be the judge as we take one more look at this Las Vegas Motor Speedway accident. And the damage to these winged sprint cars, pretty obvious to see. Now we move to another Las Vegas Motor Speedway woo-ha. This time it's involving Todd Bammer, Larry Neighbors, and Shauna Wilski gets drawn in as well as they come off turn 4. Do not adjust your sets. It looked very similar to the accident you just saw, with pretty much the same results for a lot of the drivers. The 29 car is Larry Neighbors out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The 5 car you see in the foreground, that's Shauna Wilski. The 18 machine stopped as well, and a nice tight look You can see the damage, obviously, here. Terry McCarl, we saw him in the accident just a moment ago. As the trio of yellow cars lead the orange 5 car to a stop at the front, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This time, as we take a look on high, the action starts on the outside of the front rows. The yellow 18B car finds the going slick on the sandy surface of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and once again, Terry McCarl's involved. Larry Neighbors, the 29N, you see, the 18B, ends up on the infield as Larry Neighbors ends up high on the berm and the inside of turn 4. Now, what is it about Vegas? Must be all that neon. It puts too much glare into the driver's eyes as once again, there's a big pileup as the green flag comes out. This time, the number 1 of Sammy Swindell is involved, the 7 machine, the 21W of Danny Wood, both the Chesson boys. That's James in the 22, PJ in the 76. Once again, keep your eyes on the front rows. The 7 car and the 1 car get together. That's Craig Delansky going upside down and all about. Sammy Swindell involved. Danny Wood getting over on his lid. There's that 76 machine of PJ Chesson as the carnage is a lot worse this time around. Just something about that Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And it's not just in Vegas where the start turns quickly into a finish. Here at Fargo, as the leaders sprint away, the back of the pack turns into chaos. And certainly that chaos isn't going to involve Steve Kinzer or Mark Kinzer as they lead the entire field off of turn 2, but look back on turn 1. That's where we find the 21S of Danny Smith. He spun, got clipped by the 24 of Terry McCarl. He's been every one of these, it seems like. The 21G, Craig Delansky, also involved. Shane Carson, although he comes in late, as you see the 21 spin, he gets clipped by the 24 of McCarl. That sends Danny Smith up the wall, upside down. This guy's normally pretty good on equipment, but not tonight, as there's the 12S car of Shane Carson getting involved. A look right down from our turn 1 camera. You see the problem right away. Nowhere to go for Terry McCarl, nowhere to go for Craig Delansky. Danny Smith takes a trip to the top of the racetrack to get a love tap from Shane Carson. On board, this is what it looked like from Donnie Schott's perspective. Wow, that was absolutely close. Down trackside, Bobby Gerald caught up with a disgusted Terry McCarl.
Well, we caught up with Terry McCarl, who was one of the foursome involved here. Danny Smith is the car that's upside down. Terry, you all right?
Yeah, we're all right. It was just a racing accident. I really don't know what happened. You can see it on video, I guess. I come in the corner, Danny was spun out, really nowhere to go for anybody, Craig or anybody. It's one of them deals you hope you make it through a start. We didn't this time, but we tore it up a little bit, but we'll be back next time.
Well, that was the perspective from the driver of the 24 machine as I caught up with Danny Smith a short time later.
Went in there and turned sideways, and everybody tried to miss me, but they couldn't. Killed the car. I feel sorry for my owner, Steve Brazier. He just put this car together. Only had one night on it. Took a week or 2 off to put a new car together and got a fresh engine, and now everything's junk, so pretty disappointing.
They can also wad them up at Manzanita in Phoenix, Arizona. Once again, watch the purple car of Rick Zeal. That's the 18 machine. Be coming into your screen and departing your screen. Stage right. Upside down and over the top, keeping it out of the wall. That was the amazing part, is the damage to the 18 machine. Pretty darn obvious as we take another look. That's Rick Zeal in the top left of your screen, bicycling up over the big dirt curb cushion. And from there, it's upside down and over. Give that a difficulty of about 10 out of 10. As Zeal is able to walk away, that is the good news. And that's just typical of the wild rides you'll see in a winning sprint car. You know, these sprint car guys are fast, but they're also philosophical, and they know such things are simply racing deals.
You know, you're racing close out there, and emotions get high. Rub little wheels, spin somebody out, not intentionally, but it happens. It's hard to make that decision. I mean, there's a fine line there, but when your adrenaline's going, you're all excited. it doesn't seem like a racing deal at that time. But if it happens to you and it's vice versa, that's the other way.
Normally any crash is a racing deal.
Oh, yeah, they tell you that all the time. Yeah, just happened. Nobody's at fault. It's just a racing deal. Yeah, I know what that is. Yeah, hear that all the time.
Just one of them things that happen. That's all I can say. It's just one of them things that happens.
The way I look at it, I've done things that I don't like done to me, but I've had them done to me, and I probably haven't done anything that anybody else wouldn't do. How's that?
When your drivers tell you that, do you believe them?
No, they wasn't paying attention. They ran over something. They didn't see it. That's a racing deal.
Carlkins are always good for a laugh. Well, now let's take a look at some more racing deals. Here at Williams Grove, watch the 2L of Ed Lynch. He spins out in turn 3, and he soon has a lot of company, including the 2-car of Andy Hillenberg, the 12 of Kevin Gobrick, and the 77 of Fast Freddie Raymer. Here is the 2L spinning out of control with nowhere to go. Got to be one of the most uncomfortable feelings you've ever had in your life is there's a lot of sprint cars barreling down on you. You can see Andy Hillenberg in the white car in the back, Fred Raymer in the 77, Gobrick in the Apple Chevrolet number 12, no place to go. And sometimes you don't even need any help. Sometimes when you're running all alone, minding your own business, fate can reach out and trip you up. As the 3G Joe Gertie found out in Manzanita, and he ran over the 7 machine of Dennis Moore Jr. About as close as you can get to getting upside down without actually turning over. Joe Gertie's got some other concerns as the big fire envelops the cockpit and his leg, but the safety officials quick on the scene to douse the flames of Joe Gertie. He will race again another day, however. Watch again on replay. That's Gertie, the 2nd car in line, being blocked by Lance Blevins. Oh boy, here comes a car, no place to go. As Dennis Moore Jr. was slowing on the racetrack. And fortunately for Joe Gertie, it was a nice, smooth racetrack that kept that car from getting bent out of shape even worse. But you can see he's got other concerns now at this point. First and foremost, getting out of that burning cockpit. Hurry, Joe. I caught up with him later to find out what exactly happened from his point of view.
It's a black race car and it's a dark racetrack. You can't see.
Biggest issue here, you climb out of the car, A-okay.
Yeah, we're fine. It's a bad deal. I mean, we ain't got nothing left now to race the rest of the night. When it broke the drive line apart inside, it knocked the fuel pump off the back of the motor. That's what the problem was.
Let's go to the tight Texas track, the Devil's Bowl Speedway, to see Mike Peters in the 66 car spinning out, sliding up the track, taking out several cars. Ouch, that one is definitely going to leave a mark. And watch what happened at Eldora's Kings Royal one year. There's chaos and carnage behind the leader as Stevie Smith hits the wall and spins out. Then Greg Hodnett comes in, takes the wild ride. Eldora's a pretty bad place to have an accident, too. With the big high banks and that big concrete wall staring you in the face, this is one place you definitely don't want to get upside down. A look at the camera on the back of Jack Houdenschild's car. Watch to the left of your screen. Bam, that's where Stevie Smith smacked the wall. Greg Hodnett will join the fray a little bit later. The possible reason for this accident, you see the mud-soaked wall. Stevie Smith had a heck of a time seeing just when the wall was coming. Thought maybe he could just drive right up on top of it. And unfortunately for Greg Hodnett, wrong place, wrong time. Another look, top left of your screen. There's Hodnett trying to avoid the fray. He actually clips another car to get upside down as Stevie Smith has already stopped on the bottom of the racetrack. Not the way you want to end your evening at Eldora, let me tell you. For that matter, not the way you want to end your night anywhere.
I don't like to get on TV this way, but I guess this is what's going to happen.
Looks like you were kind of, an innocent victim. What took place from your vantage?
Well, we had started 11 and probably made it up to about 6 there, and I think Stevie got up here and maybe pushed, and he jumped the cushion and hit the wall and kind of come back off of it. And I was had a head of steam, and I couldn't slow down, and I just kind of got in there and clipped him and hit the fence all at the same time, and that's about all she wrote for this car.
To the Cornhusker State we go, I-80 Speedway just outside of Lincoln, Nebraska. What you're about to see is the famous Jeff Swindell pirouette move. A little help from Leonard Lee and Travis Cram. Ouch, that last tag of the dirt on the end of that flip is one he's going to feel for quite some time. As the good news is, as you can see, Jeff Swindell was able to climb out of this accident. Very frustrated driver, as you might imagine. Probably wondering where Travis Cram and Leonard Lee got their driver's license. What do you think? Another look at it, you can see the problem is that's Cram on the outside of the 104 car and Leonard Lee on the inside and running out of racetrack, no place to go. And that's bad news if you're Jeff Swindell. That's 2 flips. That's 3 flips. Here comes the end, big number 4, bam. Hard to count how many twists and turns there was in there. There certainly was a good number of those. From the backstretch camera, you can see the obvious problems as 2 cars come together. Leonard Lee actually able to drive away from this accident, amazingly. But Jeff Swindell, well, pictures speak 1,000 words. In this case, maybe 1,000,000 words, as that car is absolutely destroyed. When it was all said and done, Bobby Gerald caught up with a shaken but not stirred Jeff Swindell.
Jeff, are you all right?
Yeah, just a little sore in the neck. Helmet grabbed me and hit pretty hard there a couple times. My bells rung a little bit, but you know, I mean, he run down there and he puts a slider on me and going to knock me in the wall, and I have to stop down there. So I went back underneath him here. I left him plenty of room around the top. I didn't pinch him in the wall. Then he gets up there and about spins out, and then whoever comes underneath him drills him. And then I'm stuck in the middle of the melee. I mean, it's our own dead-gum fault for getting in the back. I mean, we had a couple of problems there qualifying and screwed us up and put us in the back of this deal, and we should not have been there. We've been the top 6 every darn night for the last month and a half, and the 104 plus Octane Boost Ford should not have been there.
As you can see, the obvious damage to front wing, top wing, shock, axle, chassis. It's all destroyed. Needless to say, they'll throw that car in the old graveyard. Back to the Valley of the Sun, Manzanita Speedway for a big one. First, it's Terry McCarl and Stevie Smith getting together. They hit Andy Hillenberg, who slides to the infield as the rest of the freight train comes steaming behind. The 1X Randy Hannigan, Sammy Swindell and his one machine, the 11H of Greg Hodnan. Just a few of the cars involved in this high-speed accident at the half-mile track known as Manzanita. Very historic racetrack. Fortunately, though, not historic for episodes like this. Big half-mile racetrack, like I said. Speeds get wound up, and when things go wrong, they go incredibly wrong. As we take another look, the first car coming off turn 4, that's McCarl, banging the wall, sliding into Stevie Smith. Andy Hillenberg, no place to go. He's heading on the quarter-mile track at Manzanita. With a big hop of the cushion, he's about to go upside down and take care of another one of those aluminum top wings that fortunately cushion the blow for these drivers. As you see some of the other, here comes Hannigan tagging the wall right there. Another machine just off the screen. The 11H is hotting it, turned around watching the freight train pass. That's got to be a nervous feeling, let me tell you what. Watching cars pass. Here again is McCarl coming off the corner, tagging the wall. Stevie Smith with a big run on him, no place to go. Hillenberg gets into the side of the 19 machine. Hillenberg gets upside down. Now watch Sammy Swindell come in at the very end of this accident. There's the blue machine. You talk about threading a needle, no damage to the one car as Bobby Gerald caught up with Stevie Smith.
Are you all right, and how bad's the damage to your car?
Well, I'm sure it didn't help it any. These cars don't take very many hits anymore. They're getting lighter and lighter, but it's just one of them racing deals. They're putting lap cars in there that I wasn't even aware that was in between us guys to start with, and then he was just running a little bit slower than we were, and it's just one of those racetracks. I don't know. It seemed like I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time, or maybe I'm just driving too hard or whatever.
More Manzanita mayhem. This is Gary Brazier leading, driving the Mopar machine for Gary Stanton. About to get into some lap traffic. That's John Bankston in the 8 machine, who gets the worst end of the deal. The axle gets ripped out. He tags the wall. A little flash fire to boot as another machine tags him. Bobby Gerald found out what happened.
Gary, what happened there in the situation in the contact with Bankston?
Well, I was actually going to go around the outside of him, and then he sort of started to get in on the high line, so I dove to go underneath him, and he turned left, and I mean, there's not much room down there, and I guess things happen, you know.
And it takes about a split second. My vote, though, for the best bump and grind fest is the converted drag strip at Heartland Park, Topeka. Tucked somewhere underneath all of this dirt is a 1,320-foot quarter-mile drag strip fit for the kings of speed. But on this night, we're slinging little dirt with the Pennzoil World of Outlaws. That's Lance Blevins in the 21. The 104 is Jeff Swindell. You saw him earlier. The 2 touch with with nowhere to go on this tight racetrack, both cars end up coming to a stop. I say tight, this thing is like a paper clip. In fact, it makes a paper clip look like it has wide turns as Blevins works the inside down the backstretch. On the outside of him, the 104 car of Jeff Swindell. And that's about all it takes. Just a little tap of the tires to send you up to the wall and out of the race. More action involving Jeff Swindell. That's him in the 104 car as we look on from Danny Lasowski's mount. To the inside goes Gary Wright. Looking for an advantage? Well, that is certainly one way to get him as Jeff Swindell gets bumped and spun to the inside of the racetrack. As you can believe, he is one disgusted driver after tangling with Gary Wright. His anger, pretty obvious. Doing a little sling in the dirt in his own way. Same bat station, same bat time. This is the 5M car of Mark Kinzer touching wheels with the 8H of Shane Stewart. And then Joey Saldana and Shane Stewart are flagged for piling on. Here's how that one looked from Danny Lasowski's onboard camera. As you see him working the backstretch at Heartland Park, Topeka. Fortunately, enough room for the dude to sneak on through. Want to see another typical racing deal? We'll watch as the number 2 of Vandy Hillenberg taps the 47 of Darren Pittman. Darren joins the Topeka Air Force Stunt Flying Club, followed by a gentle thump from Joey Saldana. Real-time replay from Pittman's onboard camera. You're going to go on board for a ride over the top. Topeka air traffic. This is the 47 Cases machine asking for clearance to land on the drag strip, followed by a nice gentle love tap as Bobby Gerald caught up with a disgusted Darren Pittman.
Me and Andy just got together. I don't really know what happened, but that's just what happens on these tight racetracks. So a lot of fun. We'll try tomorrow night.
Talk to any of these drivers, they'll also tell you that it happens very, very quickly, but wonder what it looks like going in slow motion. Well, we are about to find out. That's Pittman tucked inside his cockpit. Up and over the top. It looks pretty gentle, but let me tell you, it is anything but. How about one more incident, though, from Las Vegas, where once they get past all of those starting incidents, it can still turn ugly, like Sean Fenn after contact with Craig Delansky. Talk about altitude. The Las Vegas Air Force Base is located just right behind us there. They probably picked Sean Fenn up on radar. Watch the green machine. That's the 36 car coming in contact with the car ahead of it. A quick little hop of the wheel is all it takes. And that, my friends, is why open wheel racing is some of the most exciting on the planet. Of course, Sean Fenn will argue that point at this particular juncture in his life as the 36 car goes up and down and over and inside and out before finally coming to a rest inside the turn 2 wall. One more look at it. That is Craig Delansky in the 7. Had no idea that he was about to get tapped by Sean Fenn. Didn't matter anyway. But what you are witnessing is a testament to the chassis builders and all of the people involved in the safety of these cars. This is one of the safest forms of motorsports out there. And the amazing thing is that a lot of teams can take this particular machine right back into the pits, take off the broken and busted pieces like Nerf bars and wheels and axles, like you're going to see Sean Fenn goes upside down and over one more time. That's almost a complete flip without hardly touching the ground. That is some incredible altitude and an awful lot of fast spinning. But like I said, these guys, they're able to just rip off the broken and busted pieces, attach some new ones, and go out and do it again. Well, not the flipping part of it anyway. Now, not all racing deals happen with another car. Watch the number 5 machine, Keith Kaufman, all by himself into the turn 3 wall at Manzanita. Even the veterans can make a mistake or two every now and then. Watch here what happens to the 27B of Patrick Burke at Greenwood, Nebraska. Will it ever stop? Or how about Don Droud's solo crunch and spin at the Devil's Bowl Speedway? Hey, Don, you gotta miss those tires. Or how about Dean Jacobs setting off sparks at Eldora's turn 3? 4th of July comes early that year. And watch the bottom of the screen as the king, Steve Kinzer, tries to knock down Eldora's turn 1 wall. One of the King's worst accidents ever. Bobby Gerald caught up with him moments afterwards.
It looked like maybe something broke in the car the way it veered right in.
No, it just stuck the right rear right in that deep stuff, and when it did, it just picked the front end up and just got it off the ground a little bit and turned it right toward the wall and just hit the wall.
And even when you try not to, you can still hit the wall, as Sammy found out one night at Manzanita trying to miss the spun out Tyler Walker. Once you get up into the marbles, it's awful tough to reel these cars back in. Daniel Lasowski has known the self-inflicted agony of defeat as he hopped the cushion at Manzanita's turn 1 to gently kiss the fence, but still hard enough to blow the right rear tire. And let's ride along with Tyler Walker as he too takes a bite out of the Manzanita barriers, flipping into the Arizona night. Unbelievable. Gotta love it when an onboard camera catches action just like that. The good news is, A-OK. Making this video got us to wondering, just what does it take to be an outlaw? Well, here are our suggestions that future outlaws may keep in mind. For starters, you can't be afraid of heights. You also need a refined sense of balance, coupled with an acrobatic flair. Razor-sharp reflexes are a must, as is laser-like concentration. You have to know when to kick up your heels and when to control your emotions. You need to enjoy working with others in very close quarters and have the ability to see your way past obstacles. And most of all, the ability to go for the gap. Better yet, why don't we ask the outlaws themselves?
To be an outlaw, it takes a lot of dedication.
First, you got to learn how to drive a race car.
You have to be a little crazy, and your elevator probably doesn't go all the way to the top all the time.
Got to pack a lot of ammo. I'd say probably the best word to describe is dedication. You know, it's just a lot of hours. If we got paid by the hour, I'd probably own one of these hotels here in Vegas instead of giving them my money to stay there.
Then you got to deal with all the officiating.
You got to get used to living on the road, and you really got to, you just sort of got to give everything up to live on the road.
Then you got to deal with being on the road 250 nights a year. You know, that's the big problem, especially when you got a family.
Oh yeah, and then there's those intangibles too. Well, one of the greatest treats of our World of Outlaw telecasts on TNN has been the wild rides and exotic shots provided by the onboard cameras. So sit back and enjoy the ride. cameras also captured a magic moment at the Eldora Speedway in 1998 when my good friend and TV broadcast partner Brad Doty returned to the cockpit one last time aboard his restored 1988 Coors Light number 18. It was a touching occasion that few will ever forget. Probably the largest crowd ever to witness a Pennzoil World of Outlaw race at the half-mile Eldora Speedway was on hand, as were Brad's wife and kids, as he took the green flag for the first time since a career-ending injury almost 10 years to the day. Inside the cockpit, Brad still felt right at home.
I'll tell you what, I feel like I beat the place, I guess. Slowed me down a little, but I'm back.
It was a night when emotions ran over, and when stoic Sammy Swindell came up to give Brad a playful love tap in the rear, it was a perfect punctuation to a wonderful evening.
It was a great night, and Sammy, it had to be emotional for those guys too. I never thought about all the drivers seeing the old Coors Light car back up there, so it had to be special for them too.
As legendary as Eldora is, no place is as significant as Knoxville Raceway in Knoxville, Iowa, home of the Sprint Car Hall of Fame and site of the greatest race on dirt, the Knoxville Nationals. Sprint car racers from all over the world come here to try their hand at Knoxville, and some pay a stiff price in torn up equipment. And at the Nationals, you can leave nothing on the table. It's a night that you take every chance you can to try to advance into the next main event. This is early in the night on championship night. As you watch the cars come off turn 4, you guessed it, there's gonna be a problem right away, and it happens in the back of the pack. Judy Bates and Joe Rowe get pinched into the wall. Tommy Scott has nowhere to go, flipping violently in the 4S as the 2AU of Robert Jackson tags the inside retaining wall. Sid Blandford is the car you see in the middle, tore up very, very badly as well. As the safety officials are quick on the scene to make sure everyone is A-OK. That is Blandford climbing out of his destroyed machine. Blandford coming all the way from Colorado to try to get the best of Knoxville, but unfortunately, Knoxville got the best of him on this night. As you can see, the carnage goes all the way to turn 1. There is Joe Rowe surveying the damage on his machine. As we take another look, watch the back of the pack. That's where Joe Rowe and Judy Bates get pinched into the wall. Sid Blandford is stuck in the middle, as well as Tommy Scott has no place to go, and with a quick hop of the wheel, he exits stage right as the rest of the players come to a stop right in front of the flag stand. Others to pay the Knoxville price that year include the 51J car of Ryan Jamison, the 21X of Steve Beitler, and the 15 of Donnie Schatz in this turn 2 accident. That is Schatz going off stage left. That is Beitler up against the wall. In the 21 machine, he comes all the way from Washington to end his night in a red flag situation in turn 2. Ryan Jamison is the first of the players to lose control in the 51J. Beitler in the 21 car tries to get around him to the right, but ends up clipping the back of the 51 machine. Schatz tries to thread the needle, but ends up forcing the issue, plowing his way through. A bent nose wing, the worst of the damage for the 15 machine, as the 21 car ends up on its side as pieces fall off all over the place. It's a frustrating accident, especially if you're not the cause.
You know, we had to start way in the back here, and there's only 15 laps, so you got to go hard right off the bat. And somebody got together up front and knocked the front end out of a car, and he spun around, and I tried to miss him, and I don't know if I hit him first, and I got hit from behind. I'm not sure, but just not a good weekend so far.
As Steve Kinzer pursued Sammy Swindell in that year's championship main event at Knoxville, Greg Hodnett, who we've seen have some wild rides, took another one, ending up in the fence. The damage to the Selma shell car pretty obvious, as the top wing has been ripped off. The front right tire is flat. The nose wing is pulled off as well. As we go on board and take a wild ride with Greg Hodnett.
How bad is the damage? Did you get a chance to get out and look at it at all? Is it totally destroyed?
Yeah, it's about done. Yeah, it took a couple of really hard end over ends there, and hit one time right on the nose, and you know, that was about all we could say for that car anyway. It's brand new too, that's the worst part.
We looked at it on the videotape because you were riding with you in car. Try to describe for us what happened.
Well, I was catching the 7TW and the 2D, The 7TW kind of slid up in front of the 2D down there, and I had to get off the gas, and when I did, I was already in the cushion, and it got on the right front, and I turned the steering wheel, but it just kept going for the fence, and right at the last second, I tried to give it some gas to jerk it back off, but it was too late. I was in a head steam right for the fence, and this is kind of where we're sitting now.
Knoxville can be a tough, demanding place, as Steve Kinzer found out in 1997 on his night in qualifying. You see smoke beginning to pour out of the bottom of the Quaker State car. That leads to an illuminating run. The king of the Outlaws. Stevie Smith also found the going tough at Knoxville as a deflating tire left him with no place to go. But this isn't a place that you can let off the gas until problems like this come. Stevie was able to stop this car and put a new one on and go out and try it again. But the most frustrated out of all of these drivers had to be Sammy Swindell, crashing out of the lead in a race he had not won since 1983. And it all started when Don Drought crashed in turn 4. Sammy, leading the race, checked up on the binders. Mark Kinzer had no place to go, did not even know there was an accident going on. Needless to say, he ran right into the back of Sammy Swindell, leading the most prestigious sprint car race ever. That's exactly how it went down. Sammy was able to drive away and start working in the pits almost immediately, but working was not the first thing on Sammy Swindell's mind. As a very disgusted, a very disturbed Sammy Swindell watched his best chances since 1983 vanish right before his eyes. Amy Swindell tried to calm her husband, who was obviously very visibly upset at the accident that happened in turn 4.
The guy wasn't very smart, just run all over the whole car. The yellow light was out, but that's not the first time he's done that this year, But we'll get the channel lock car back there and salvage what we can, but they'll probably wait on him to fix his.
Sammy came back a year later with a vengeance and seemed to be destined for success. He dodged a bullet in the Friday scramble that took out, among others, Steve Kinzer. That's the green car at the back of the pack as Gary Brazier loses control. Dale Blaney has nowhere to go as Steve Kinzer gets collected as well. An unbelievable accident that happened in the A scramble for the Knoxville Nationals in 1998. You can see the damage to Steve Kinzer's car. The top wing, the nose wing. As you take another look, Brazier out of control, spins to the bottom of the racetrack, leaving Dale Blaney no place to go. And a face full of race car does Steve Kinzer get in that Quaker State number 11 machine, as Sammy Swindell perseveres, avoids all the mishaps, and goes on to win the scramble. One night later, he would be involved in an epic battle with Danny Lasoski as the 1998 Knoxville Nationals A feature hit the track. A 30-lap race with a payday of $100,000. These two combatants had been going at it all night. Lasoski on the bottom, Swindell on the top side of the racetrack. Score lap 27 to Sammy Swindell, the first time he's led the championship feature all night long. He then moves to the bottom of the racetrack to block Lasoski, who'd been working the bottom to perfection. Lasoski, not to be outdone, picks up his elbows, trying to make a charge. Now these drivers have swapped positions. Lasoski is on the top side of the racetrack as the capacity crowd stands and watches as Sammy Swindell is just a little more than a lap away from his second Knoxville Nationals championship. Doug Clark waves the white flag. We are one lap away from crowning the 1998 Knoxville Nationals champion. Lasoski gets a run on the bottom. Swindell slows going through 1 and 2, and Danny Lasoski reassumes the lead. Another dashing blow to Sammy Swindell for the second consecutive year. He gets the Knoxville Nationals stolen right from underneath of him as Danny Lasoski gets his first ever championship at the racetrack he loves so dearly. And what incredible emotions were in the air. This is Sammy Swindell's wife, Amy, reacting during that last lap, trying to cheer her husband on to the win that wasn't meant to be. In contrast, on the other side of the pits, here is how Danny's crew chief, Jimmy Carr, looked after the battle was won. When it was over, Danny Lasoski took a Polish victory lap, celebrating the biggest win of his career. Starting in sprint car racing, Danny scrambled to find rides. Eventually, he found his way to Knoxville. He has won 7 track championships and is the winningest driver ever, but his resume was missing one win, the big one, the Knoxville Nationals. The crowd roared as its adopted son brought home the big one, the 1998 Amoco Knoxville Nationals.
Danny, tell us about those last 3 laps. Absolutely unbelievable racing.
I'll tell you what, I was so excited I didn't know what happened. I seen Sammy get beside us, and I got hung behind a lap car, and I thought, boy, if I just don't step on it.
Speaking of stepping on it, you're about ready to get poured onto it. Tell us about the last lap, the coming off at 2. Absolutely unbelievable move.
Sammy got me, and I think he got into 1 a little heated, and if you missed the bottom a little bit, you slid out. Man, we did it. We did it!
What was going on in your mind at that point, though? I know you. You had to be fired up.
I was. When he got by me, it took everything I could do to keep him getting so excited and blowing it all. Because I didn't know how many laps were left, and I seen the white. I said, oh, my God, what are we going to do now? And he went in too hot. I slipped under him, made sure we covered the last lap, and tell you what, guys, thank TNN, thank all you guys. I love this. This is great. This is the greatest day of my life.
Congratulations, dude. You are the man.
So we hope you've enjoyed Slinging Dirt. Give you a taste of some of the thrills and spills that happens in the world of sprint car racing. There are highs, there are lows, and there's certainly everything in between when you're slinging dirt. I'm Dave Reef.